Here we go. You ready? All right, guys. How we doing? My name's Crofto. We are here for the mental health checkup streams. This is episode 5. With me is GreaseFactory16. You can find him on Twitter at that handle. How you doing, Grease?
Good.
I'm doing great. That's a sick intro screen. Well, thank you there, HJ. So, guys, just to let you guys know, today's subject is going to be about the anniversary of 9/11. It's been the 20-year anniversary um, of the September 11th attacks. There's a lot to talk about, so we're gonna get into a couple subjects, maybe not as in depth for each one, but we'll try to hit as many as we can. We only have a short period of time because Grease does have to go to work. He's a night man, so um, the thing that I would like to say first before we start off in any stream is that we are not mental health professionals. So if you feel like you have something that you need professional help with, I put in the chat different helplines that you'll see coming across. There's numbers for America and Canada. So make sure you call those numbers if you feel like you need more than just talking. So, first thing I like to bring up is what the September 11th attacks were. America was attacked with multiple things. It was mostly airplanes attacked or ran into the World Trade Center towers, which are no longer around. It also another plane attack at the Pentagon, and also another plane attack that didn't reach its destination but fell in western Pennsylvania. Um, in those attacks, it kind of caught everyone off guard. It was kind of surreal because people didn't really know what to think at the time because this is not something that in most of our lifetimes at that point in time has ever happened to us. We've never been attacked before on that kind of scale with something being that coordinated. So there was a lot of not knowing what to do, especially with when it happened when I was around. I was in ninth, 10th grade, 10th grade, um, and kind of gonna go over my experiences quick. Yeah. The towers were bombed in the 90s, yes, but just the amount of damage that they were trying to do with these attacks is, if they actually got through with all their plans, we're going to be much bigger than what they were. Um,
Wasn't the bomb in the '90s like in a van in the
yeah, it
basement?
was in a van. I mean, granted, they tried to knock down a tower then too. They
Right.
thought the bomb was gonna um, was gonna do more damage than it did, but it was still pretty bad. You know, it's still a huge thing. Not trying to say it wasn't,
Downplay.
but the fact that the towers fell was kind of a huge deal. Caused a lot of damage. New York City was in a huge mess for quite a long time. I had family, not family. I had friends that had family that worked in the World Trade Centers. One of them did not make it. The other ones were there and got out in time, fortunately, because they worked more on the lower floors. But I've had a lot of friends that were photographers that went up and took pictures, and some of the pictures are just surreal because I go to New York City a lot and I look at that city the way it is, and I couldn't imagine even knowing that it happened while I was alive that that happened. You know, I've been to the World Trade Center memorial, and it's phenomenal. If you've never been, it's definitely something worth seeing. Um, but yeah, so what I want to do first is kind of go over um, what we did during our experiences during that time. So, Greece, if you want to go over, um, kind of, it's one of those moments in your life that you remember exactly what you did. There's moments in time, you know exactly where you were, what you did. I'd like to hear your story.
Easily, easily, like probably one of the aside from like my wedding, of course, which I have to say, but yeah, I was a freshman at Kent State University in Kent, Ohio, which is just south of Cleveland, and I was a freshman, true freshman, and I was living with this sophomore named Dave. And we woke up to somebody running up and down the hall. Like there's just people running up and down the hallways, and we were like, "What the hell?" And we had drank the night before, so uh, we were kind of out of it, and we like opened the door and we're like, "What's going on?" And this kid just yells like, "A plane hit the World Trade Center," and we were like, "What?" And this was, of course, 20 years ago. I'm old, and not everybody had a TV in their room, uh, so or at least one that had cable anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we went down to the main floor and we were watching the news, and like we watched the second, like they had it on camera when the second one hit. So like we were there like watching it, and we were just like you don't even know what to do. Like we had never seen anything like this. Not like like you said, nothing had ever happened like this during our lives. So we were just like, whoa, what is happening right now? And it was just like mass confusion. Classes instantly got canceled, and everybody was just like gathering, trying to like figure out what was going on. And then the Pentagon, and then when they fell, and it was like the biggest image of, I just remember seeing like an aerial shot of New York City, and it was literally a cloud of dust. Like you couldn't even see the city. It was just filled. Like the whole city was a cloud of dust. So I was like, "Oh, what is like we didn't know what was happening." And instantly my roommate's like, "I'm going to join the military tomorrow." Like literally signed up, left college. He was gone. And it was, you know, I was just floored. Like I'm a freshman in college, and I'm in my head like we're going to war.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't ready for that. I don't know that anyone else was really ready for that. But I was like, just dumbfounded.
Yep.
It was
I'm
I
actually gonna cut to this screen here and show. This is what he was talking about with the pictures here. Pretty impressive, the amount of damage that was done, and just seeing all the smoke is pretty crazy.
dude, it was the nuttiest thing seeing this like live, because
Mm-hmm.
they weren't really like editing anything. I mean, they didn't show all of the bad stuff, but there was some really bad stuff that you heard about. And but like just seeing New York, and you couldn't see New York, and it was like, what is going on? And
Mm-hmm.
then the flight hit the Pentagon. One of my teammates was supposed to be taking a job at the Pentagon, and he was supposed to be there that day, but he didn't go. And I forget why he didn't go, but he didn't end up going. There was one of my friends' old college scouts, or the guy that scouted him to go to college or something, was in the World Trade Centers. And then I don't know if you know this, but Kent State's a huge aviation school.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids on our floor had access to like all the flight patterns for their aviation schooling.
Mm-hmm.
So flight 93 actually turned around and basically like went right over Kent as it was going back. And he like showed me the path, and he's like, "Dude, this flight just turned around." And then when that landed, like, oh man. And the whole story about what happened on that flight is just nuts. And it's, you know, it changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was quite calm before that, and then after that it was just, I don't even know, it was just bad. Like everything was bad for a while. It's not necessarily gotten much better, but security's gotten tighter. But it was, I mean, before that you just kind of like showed up, and they were like, "Ooh," like that one video of the security guard waving his wand at people, letting them
Mm-hmm.
into the football stadium. That's kind of how it was.
Yeah, I mean, you used to be able to go into airports and drop people off at the gate, you know,
Yeah, you could walk
and
them all the way.
yep, and wave goodbye and watch the airplanes go off. I remember doing that as a kid. Can't do that
Right.
anymore, you know.
Oh, it all changed just like that, and it was, you know, everything changed. A lot of views people had of other people changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, it was the craziest. It was, I can honestly say it was probably the craziest day of my life. It was nuts. And the only time during the whole day was we still had hockey practice.
Mm-hmm.
Our coach still had us play hockey, and we went to the rink, and we all were like, didn't even like say much. Got on the ice, and our coach was just like, "There's some crazy shit going on outside right now, but for the next 90 minutes, all you don't have to think about anything but what's happening on this ice." And then for 90 minutes, we thought about nothing but hockey, and then after that, it was right back to utter craziness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my experience. So I was in 10th grade. I remember to this day, I was in gym class. Gym class just started, and we were doing tennis. So we had tennis courts on the outside. So we were walking up, and we just started playing, and all of a sudden the intercom was going off of our principal, and our principal was saying something about the World Trade Center. And I'll be honest, I didn't really know what that was because it's not something I ever really thought about before, and I haven't really researched it. And back then, I didn't really care to research stuff, so I didn't really know what that meant. Um, and then he was saying how there's been a terrorist attack, so it kind of like everyone kind of stopped, right? And was like, oh, okay. And then he was talking about how somebody attacked the building. He didn't really say much, but he said, if anyone's outside, we like you to come inside. Um, and we're going to stop classes. And during that time, um, the school was deciding if they were going to put TVs in every room for people to watch or send us home or lock us down. They didn't know what to do. Um, what ended up happening was they canceled all classes, but we weren't allowed to leave the building. They locked the whole school down. And this is in central Pennsylvania. Um, and this is after there were reports of other planes being hijacked. So they didn't want us to like go anywhere. They didn't want us to be home. They wanted us to stay there. So that way no one's kind of like wandering around while parents are at work trying to figure out what's going on. They wanted us to all stay there. So we ended up, they had those little push cart TV things. I don't know if you remember those. Yeah, so it was a TV that was pushed on a cart, and then they plugged in the cable. Um, and I remember watching this one tower kind of have smoke coming out of it. It was the first time I ever noticed what the World Trade Center was. And again, I didn't know what it meant to have those buildings. I didn't know what happened in them, or the purpose of the building itself. And while we were watching there, the second plane hit, and that's when our whole class like knew something was going. Like this isn't just like Vic said. It looked like a crazy movie. That's what we were used to seeing in movies, right? And it kind of hit us that was real life. And on these news feeds, there were a lot of reactions on the streets, which are pretty crazy. There's a lot of reactions in audio of people that they didn't show a lot of video of, because we found out that people were jumping out of the building because they would rather do that than burn, which is crazy to think about, that they were put in a position like that. And when people started hearing that, it made a lot of people, especially around our age, angry. And that's how we're going to transition into our next topic, is how did this make you feel, right? A lot of young kids, as you guys know, get recruited out of high school to go into the military. Um, Around college age, they usually try to get you to sign up, and and it's not necessarily a bad thing for everyone. But at that point, it was they didn't really have to recruit very hard because a lot of
Yeah.
people wanted to join.
Oh yeah.
They were very angry that that happened. A lot of mixed emotions because you want to be sad and you want to grieve, but then you also want to take care of the person who or the group that did this to you. Um, I remember the news changing the video feed when they realized people. Yeah, exactly. Like I remember watching people jumping out of the building and they realized what it was because they were even talking about it. It's like, what is that? Like, what are those things? And then they zoomed in and realized what it was, and they immediately cut the feed because they realized that people were jumping because it didn't look like that from far away.
Right,
Um,
and there's the one newspaper that actually showed like their front page story was the guy
mhm,
going
right, which I mean,
and
and
mark.
like even now, like I still get chills, like 'cause I remember that, and I remember it shocking me enough to like realize that, especially in America, during that before that time, a lot of younger people, I want to say like probably in their 20s and younger, probably felt like nothing could ever happen to us because nothing ever happened to us in our lives, right? We weren't in World War II. Obviously, there were some older people that were at that time. They were still around. Um, there were some other wars that people were a part of, but it was other places. So for us to get attacked, it was kind of like I didn't realize that could happen to us, and it kind of put like this weird feeling in everyone. I remember once the school let us go, like the halls were silent, like no one talked. Um, they closed our school down for a whole week, so that way people could talk to their families, and like I said, because of where I live, there were a lot of people that had family members that worked in New York City. So they just gave everyone the week off, so that way we could spend time with our families and figure out what's going on and blah blah blah. I didn't have any family there, but I had a lot of friends that, like I said, that had family in New York City. Even if it wasn't the World Trade Center, like they were still there, right? And it's just pretty crazy to think about that. My friends had family members that experienced that, and that's when it started hitting me. It's like, man, this is real. Um, I did not join the military. I chose to um, stay home and take care of my mom because she was a single mom and I was helping her out with bills and stuff. And I grew up in a military family, like I said, so I know what that was like. But I had a lot of friends that joined. One of them was my neighbor. I still remember it. Like I've never seen him that angry before, and like his family was like his dad was a military army guy, and um, his mom was always in the military family and stuff, um, and he was just so angry about what happened, and he immediately signed up, and um, that was a month later. I didn't see him for years, and one day he came back, and I had no idea what happened to him. Um, I didn't know what branch he even joined. I just know he was just gone. Um, when he came back, I talked to him about the different stories and stuff, and I realized, and this is where the mental health part comes in. Um, he still had mixed emotions, right? And this is years later, right? Um, like he was still angry about it, but he realizes that he missed out on a lot at home. And then when he came home, he didn't know what to do with himself. Like, so he kept going back. He went back 6 times. And because when he came home, he didn't know what normal life was anymore. Like he knew about what he did over in Afghanistan, and um, he's been at a couple of other spots in the Middle East. But um, it's kind of like the movie The Hurt Locker. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen that before?
No, I haven't seen that one
Okay,
yet.
so it's of a bomb tech that um, keeps coming home and keeps going back because he doesn't get that adrenaline of defusing a
Uh,
bomb. And so when he comes home, he doesn't know what to do with himself type deal. And that
Right.
it's kind of like that, right? Um, right. And I know my friend Victimizer here. Um, Victimizer, did you join the military um, because of 9/11, or were you already in it, or did you join shortly after? Um, but yeah, I mean, you can relate because even after being a decade back, it's still difficult. And and that's the thing. Like that's what a lot of vets deal with. Like they don't just even on a normal basis, right? But a lot of people I think signed up based on emotion.
Yeah.
Right after we went to Iraq, all right. Um, they go there. They went there for emotion. They weren't really prepared mentally to be in that situation, and it's very tough for them to come back because they weren't. They have a lot of PTSD from that. That's when it like really started to happen. Not and there's still people that deal with it. Even with today's wars. But I think people in the last 10 years have signed up because they wanted to, or it wasn't just based on raw anger. So it it's hard to talk about because I didn't do it myself, but there's definitely a lot of people out there who went there based on emotion, and I know not all of them were super happy, especially with what they were seeing over there. And again, I don't have the stories because I wasn't there myself, but um, just based on what I heard and stuff, I'm not going to repeat them because I don't want to mess them up. Um, it's just hard to hear, right? Because a lot of them went over there for a reason, and they didn't get to do. They didn't feel like they ever completed their mission while they were over there, and because it did take some time. Because of Osama bin Laden was the person who took credit for it, and it took a long time before they ended up doing
Yeah.
anything, right? So a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
had issues, because they feel like they weren't there for the right reasons. Um, but that's a whole nother issue that we could talk about for hours and hours. But um, but as far as the 9/11
Yeah.
thing, there hasn't really been. Even when I was there, we knew we would never be the real end to it. Yeah, and that like, and honestly, like we can translate what's happening in today, right? With us leaving, like look what happened, right? Honestly, like that's a side effect of what happened at 9/11. Like is what happened in the last couple months. Like
Yeah.
we went there for that
100%.
reason, and we said we would take care of people, and from there, you know, we abandoned them, right? And then in turn, within what weeks, the people that
Yeah.
we were trying to take care of now control the whole country, right? I mean, it's kind of
Dude,
scary.
and seeing those images of like the airport and everybody just out on the tarmacs trying to get out, like
Mm-hmm.
that was crazy to see.
I
I
can't,
can't imagine that happened here.
right, I can't fathom being in a position where that's the best choice, right?
Right.
Right? Like I can't. Like it's so hard to relate to someone like that because they are in a position right now that they think that that's how they're going to get out, and that's what they have to do to survive. And unfortunately, a lot of them didn't. But Jordan, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it, buddy. A friend recently asked me if I was angry about the pullout. Did my friends die in vain? I didn't have an answer. Um, I actually have. I want to find it here since we kind of got on that topic. I have a friend who has been in. Is it okay to share mental health stream? I'm new to the stream. I was just wondering. Yes, actually, Jordan. Towards the end of it, we talk about other topics that we open up to our viewers. So you are more than welcome to share as soon as our topic is finished. So I'll let you know, and then you can go ahead and type in whatever you want, and we'll give a little talk about that. Um, there it is. See if I can even find it. Probably not that far back, but he was talking about how he was in the war after 9/11, and he was actually very angry. Um, because we pulled out, because he felt like we literally abandoned everyone who has put in the ultimate sacrifice to be there and to help. Let's see here. Do you know what date we did that around? Like
Pulled
pulled
out
out? Yeah.
maybe a month ago.
Okay.
I would just Google like Kabul airport and see what
Yeah, it's true.
day all that happened. It'd be about the day before or after that,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around there, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm not finding it, but either way, yeah, it's rough stuff, and honestly, like there's many people who wanted us to back out with a plan, and I just don't think the plan that they ended up doing worked at all. And it literally abandoned people. And we actually just got a little thing in our newspaper. We have 13 refugees coming into our city uh, this week, I guess, and there's gonna be like a welcoming party for them. Yeah, I don't like. So I've watched some news interviews, and the guy who was apparently in charge of it said that there was a plan, and it was like in process for like 2 years, and the current administration didn't follow it whatsoever. There was a huge plan that it was going to take months to like progressively pull people out and put them in places in different countries and all this other stuff, and it wasn't followed whatsoever. Um, and he was pretty angry about it, obviously. But it's been, yeah, I'm still. I think that here it is. Found it. Okay, so this guy says, and this is a guy who was in the military in 1991, um, being over there for the Gulf War, and then he went back in 2003 when the Iraq War started. So some many emotions are running in me. In 1991, he was a Marine, along with the U.S. Army, Air Force, as well as the Brits that were with us, wanted to continue into Iraq, finish it. We pulled out because it was all a matter of saving oil via the liberation of Kuwait. And March 20th, 2003, the Iraq War started. I saw the beginning of it on the news, and I gritted my teeth and thought that those MFers finished what we started. And then Afghanistan started. The years passed. Brothers of mine sacrificed so much for our country. Iraq ended, but Afghanistan still continued. Still, my brothers fought with every ounce of their being. Lives changed forever. I have so much love for them, especially the brothers that I personally know that were there. It needed to end. Today was not how it was supposed to be. I sit here typing this and tears running down my face, knowing how much it sucks to feel let down. I've been there. I've struggled with it, but did so much for what? Evil has returned. There were so many missions that had positive results. I'm sure there were brothers out there that didn't feel the same way I do, but that's okay. I understand that. It felt good when Kuwait was liberated, yet it was a punch in the gut when Iraq continued to have an evil country that it was. So yeah, everything that has accomplished seems not to matter to a degree, at least to me. I pray for God that the safety of the Marines are sent back to a safe return. So I mean, there's a lot of people who had a lot of mixed emotion because obviously there's a lot of people who wanted to leave, right? But they didn't want to leave that way. And again, we were over there at this point because the 9/11 started. Now, obviously, we've been there a lot longer than we probably should have been, but that's the original stem of it for this last time that we were over. Obviously, there was the Gulf War before that, but it's just sad. It's sad that one event changed so many lives, not all for the better, and it still affects people 20 years later, and especially now the people in Afghanistan now are definitely feeling it. Our one friend Safir put out posts on Twitter because his family, he lives in Canada, and his family is still over there. And so when the Taliban started coming, he didn't know, like his, I think he's, no, don't put me on record for this, but I'm pretty sure he said his grandparents were killed over there when the Taliban took over their village or city before. So he was very worried about the rest of his family over there this time. Um, and he was not sure if they were going to make it because the Taliban was invading every city over there. And I felt for him, because he was very upset that the military left, and that's another perspective that we don't think about, right? Obviously, we want our Marines and military to be safe, but what about the people that we were trying to protect and just kind of abandon them? So,
there now.
But moving on to the next topic, since we're kind of running a little low on time, is over the 20 years, there's been a lot of things that have happened on September 11th that people either celebrate or other events that happen. But every time September 11th hits, it's always thought about as 9/11, as the terrorist attacks. How you doing there, Dizzy? I appreciate you being here, buddy. I can tell you from my experience, my wife's birthday is on September 11th. And every time somebody asks her, "Hey, when's your birthday?" she always goes September 11th, and the response every single time is, "Oh." It's never excitement. It's like, "Oh yeah." And I didn't. When she said that, I didn't really think about it, but like I started noticing it too, and it's kind of amazing how that's the same answer. It doesn't matter who it is. It's always the answer. So it's kind of hard to celebrate per se, like her getting excited for that day, because like her whole family works in aviation. Have it control towers. She has some pilots in her family. So like her family was really affected with that too, because obviously that was their livelihood was messed with, right? Especially with control towers, like they had to see that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy to see. So when we celebrate her birthday, we don't celebrate it technically on that day. We just kind of do the weekend, but it's just hard for her to get excited. Is there anything for you in your last 20 years that might have happened on September 11th that might be something you celebrate, but then you kind of like don't get excited for, or anything like that? Uh-oh. Where's go?
I think my camera's messing up.
All right, here, I'll just go to this screen.
Yeah, I mean, I have a buddy whose birthday is September 11th, and it's like the same thing, You're like, oh, when's your birthday? What do you want to do for your birthday? And nobody really wants.
Oh no. I think we're losing them. I think we lost them. Say hi to slow motion robotic Grease. Yeah, we'll bring him back quick here. Let me let's do this here. Let's go to this screen here. We'll come over here. We'll bring him back here in just a second, guys. He's still going here. Let's just this guy. Kick him out of the park. I don't even think he even realizes it yet. One thing I use for September 11th, remembering my family that served and the sacrifices that they did for us. Right, and that's another thing. Like I know my friend Dizzy is Canadian. Like United States weren't the only one that went to war during this time. There's a lot of countries that put in military and put in an effort to stop what happened, right? So again, it didn't just affect us. It affected a lot of us, even in different countries. You almost joined the army. And what made you want to join the army? And what made you stop? If you don't mind me asking their ice dog. I've served with a lot of different countries out there: Brits, Germans, Koreans, yeah, and Pakistani. See, and that's the thing. Like this event didn't, like I said, didn't affect just us. You know, or us being United States. Like it affected a lot of countries, and it's just amazing how one event in one day changed the lives of so many around the world, and crazy to think about. Crazy to think about for sure. Um, One thing I will show. 1 second here. I was angry at what I saw, disgusted. My uncle was in the first building that got hit. It was the first floor, about to go up. He was making a delivery. Dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm actually going to show a small snippet of video, maybe. Did I get rid of it? And for anyone who is young enough that wasn't around, this is a video that I've seen before. And maybe it was this one. Yeah. This is a video that I've seen before that I feel like really hits home because it's a lot of different newscasts and a lot of different perspectives of what happened that day that we saw live. So I'm just going to show a little snippet for people who might not have been around during that time. Let's see. While we're waiting for Grease to come back. Let's go to here. Let's go to the screen. Give me a second here.
Sean, it's me. I just want to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. There's lots of smoke, and I just wanted you to know that I love you always.
At number 2 World Trade Center, right? Ladies and students in this office, we're not ready to die, but it's getting bad.
I'm on the 83rd floor. I'm gonna die, aren't I? No. Say I'm gonna die.
Ma'am, say your prayers. We're gonna think positive because you gotta help each other get off the floor.
I'm
Now,
dying.
A new type of war. That's what it is.
So yeah, that's just a little snippet. I'll put, if you guys really want to watch the video, I will put it in the chat here. It is a pretty, it's a pretty powerful video as far as what you saw there. It goes through all the events in order of what happened, and if somebody who wasn't around, if you're young enough to not be around and you're learning about this in school, that video is very powerful because you got to remember a lot of the people that are like me, like I was around for that, and I'm only 36, right? And there's people who are younger than me that were still remembered as kids. So definitely take a look at it. I know people are learning about it in schools now because I've helped people do lesson plans on it and stuff because I mean it's tough to talk about. And let's see here. Let's talk. You got out everything going up next block, which was a pretty long block. Yeah, and let me try to see if I can find. The weird thing is Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be on those American planes. I believe Seth MacFarlane too. That's crazy. I remember seeing the video of a lady recording, and she was able to get inside the coffee shop and avoid debris, and being crushed, and she was screaming, "Thank you to the person who let," and just small things like that. Yeah, see, that's the thing. You can go on YouTube and find all this stuff, and like there's things that like I definitely won't show here, but tons and tons of video, because that was right when an age when people just started getting recording phones, right? And it wasn't like everyone had their iPhone out, because iPhones weren't a thing, and people were just started recording stuff. A lot of people used to carry around camcorders, right? And that was a big deal. That's why there's not a ton of video of it, but there's still a lot of video out there that it's pretty surreal, right? Remember my brother waking up when the first plane hit, when CNN, like 20 minutes later, second plane hit. Yeah, we talked about it's one of those events that you just remember what happened, right? Like you just know what you did during that time. There's different times in my life where you kind of like sit back and you just watch, because you know it's just one of those events. Another event that happened in my life that was like that was Princess Diana when she was killed, or yeah, and it was a huge thing. It was all over the news. Like you just kind of like, I didn't really know much about her, but I still watched it because I knew that was going to be something in history that is going to be talked about, right? So, but yeah, 9/11 was like, you talk about it, anyone who was alive during that time knows exactly what they did during those moments. We just got to work. When the first plane hit, we had TV showing the second one, and let anyone who wanted to go home do so. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we watched it live, right? We had jets flying over Denver. Like, we watched it live on TV, and it was like a movie, like you said before. But we realized it wasn't pretend anymore. It was real life, and we never really thought that could happen, right? And it's just pretty crazy to think about that was a moment in our time. But all right, guys, as far as Victimizer, did you want to bring anything up during this segment? You're more than welcome to come on and just talk if you want, on Discord. I spent my entire young years in Germany during the Cold War. Nice. When I was at the World Trade Center. You're good? All right. This was a good topic. I know we don't have a ton of people here, but it's still, with it just happening, it's still a good topic, because it just, the 20th anniversary happened, and like I said, you still have mixed emotions about it, even though, like, you watch that video and it still upsets you, right? And knowing what happened 20 years later, and we're still going through the repercussions of going to war like that, it's hard to process. And that's okay, because you should be angry that happened to us, and you should be sad, and you should be mourning. It's rough. So yeah, Greece is having still issues with this stuff, so we're just gonna say goodbye to Greece. Let's see. Ice Dog said, I was at the World Trade Center about 9 months after it happened. Remember waking up near the ramp to see what was going on. It was pretty eerie. See, and that's the thing, like I was telling earlier before you're done, I had people go there to help and volunteer, and I actually considered it. But had a lot of friends go up and do photography there. There's some awesome photos that captured history, that really... Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about, and this is... actually, let me see here. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it quick. A lot of people captured images that we'll never, hopefully never see again. Let's see. Like this one. This image was like iconic at the time. You know, or the cover of this Aftermath doc or book here. Like, oh, it's okay, Grease. It's okay, Grease. You can just contribute here if you want. I know you got to go to work soon, so we're just talking about different things that happened in the aftermath of it. But one thing I would like to talk about is New York City had a bad rep at the time for being dangerous and hateful after 9/11. Everyone in the city, yeah, and that's actually my next quick topic. Is when this happened, we were at the time, like, I don't think it was as bad today as it was then, but we were kind of split politically. There were still some issues that were going on with that kind of stuff. Still some issues in our country that, you know, we still see today. But right after this happened, this is like the one moment in my time that I remember being, our country was all like together finally. Everyone in our country, like, we were finally united for the first time, and we all wanted the same thing, which is it sucks that it took that to get to that point, right? It really does. But people were proud to be an American at that point. Like, everyone wanted the same thing. And it's hard to tell people like what that felt like, to have that pride in our country, where everyone felt that. Like, there's a lot of people who still do, you know, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of people who over the last, let's say, 10 years probably aren't at that level anymore. And granted, that happens over time, right? Like, there's new people who come in to the world that didn't experience this, so they don't have that sense of feeling the same feelings that you went through during these times, right? What's up there, Super Sexy Center? How you doing, buddy? But and it's kind of sad to see where our country is right now. And it doesn't matter what side you're on as far as political stuff. I mean, it's just kind of sad.